Welcome to our corner where we talk about the Streets of Avalon role-playing game. I'm Chris.
And I'm Brett.
And today we're talking about GM tools, hit and miss, frameworks in general, and why context matters so much in this and technically other games, in my opinion.
It does. Yeah. If you don't, context is pretty much everything.
Yeah, let's talk about that first, like why context matters. So like there's a lot of role-playing games out there in the world. Some of them care a lot about this idea and some of them care a lot less about this idea. So to me, like in this game specifically, when you do a thing, I'm almost constantly asking you, what does that look like? How are you getting there? Because your description will, one, inform what my response is after you roll the dice. And it also informs how you can utilize the stat or training or whatever that you're using in context with the action that you're taking.
Well, if you end up sourcing the table at any point, everybody's in on the context because they're all involved. We got player facing. We have a 90% player facing system here. Context matters. When are you rolling? Why are you rolling? Because then all you're doing. If you're paying attention to the setting material and you understand what Avalon's about and you're operating within that space, now I've got all the right bumpers. I've got all the stuff I need to make my pulpy noir Fought for the Grey Mouser rooftop running chase scene feel like it's supposed to and act like it's supposed to, and not like it's a mini game that we wedged in there because we really thought chases needed to be dealt with.
Correct, right? Like, well, I mean, chases did need to be dealt with, but it didn't need to be any. It didn't need to be so divergently different from everything else that existed in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you try to keep the play experience as consistent as you can, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I think context matters so much in this and other role playing games. But because it doesn't necessarily have to matter in all role playing games. I've talked to enough people who are like, I don't really want to have to describe that stuff. I want to be able to just say I use this weapon to swing at them, roll my d20, add my modifier, and see if I hit. And that's fine. Like, I've played those games. They're perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. To me, the storytelling experience is generally better when you have that context around it, a little bit of that description, a little bit of understanding what's going on, so that once again, you are not having these distinct modes of play, I suppose.
Yes.
There are plenty of games out there where, like, even like Call of Cthulhu, right? Like, you can do a fight. You still have to ask everybody, are you shooting or not? Before you can really go through a round, because
100%.
That gives you a plus 50 to your dex to see who goes first. It is a break in the way that the game flows. And that's okay in some ways. I don't mind that. But I do prefer games, personally, that have same play style. And this game is like that. Daggerheart has got that. Power by the Apocalypse games have that. D&D does not.
No, it's not. And I think one of the other things that comes in here is when we talk about context matters. And I think some of what Chris is saying, even things I have said here and in other places, do not misconstrue that this is acting time, that you need funny voice, you need a thing, you don't have to be Tolkien or anybody else descriptive. You don't have to be Fritz Leiber. You don't have to, you don't have to quote Edgel Nix just to do this thing. But when we ask about the context, what are you trying to do? Well, what I want to do is I want to leverage this crate I picked up, use it as a makeshift shield while I try to grab the torch with my other hand and fling it on the lamp oil. Oh, that's what you're trying to do. Okay, now let's adjudicate as game master and players what the right role is. And when that critical success happens or the critical failure happens, what happens? Because we know what the context was. Now everything, it just makes more sense. Because it doesn't require, there's no flash involved in that.
There's a shared vision at that point at the table. I mean, it could be as simple as, what are you doing? I'm gonna hit him with my sword. I'm like, all right, cool. And at least one time I'll be like, what does your fighting style look like? Just so we all understand what it looks like. I don't need to ask that more than once unless it changes. But at least then we have an idea, or at least I have an idea as the game master of what it looks like when you were fighting, so I could, make choices when I need to.
Yep, I love it.
To me, that leads into the next bit, which is this idea of hit and miss instead of success and failure.
So hit and miss often sounds like, to me, when I heard you first tell me this off the mics, when we're like hit and miss, I'm like, oh, not success and failure. I'm like, it's the same thing, Chris. And you're like, oh, Brett, you sweet little man. No, it's not. I'm like, what? So lay it on me, brother. What's the define? Let's define it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cribbing these terms from PBTA games and Forge in the Dark games and whatnot. It's just a shift in language so that you can have a shift in perspective, right? Success and failure mean a thing, especially failure, the term failure. When you say that you fail, it means that you just didn't do the thing that you were trying to do, right?
Yeah, you accomplished nothing. That is an absolute.
Yeah.
It's what it feels like.
When we use hit and miss, it takes the game up to a bit of a meta game level as far as it goes. Like you hit the target number, you miss the target number. That does not mean that you failed on your action or what you're trying to do. It just means that you missed the target number, and that means a certain different thing. That's the idea behind it, or you hit the target number, which is essentially success, right? You succeeded. When you hit, you succeed. You get what you were trying to do. When you miss, the game master gets to make a choice because you missed the target number. The narrative is allowed to be passed to the game master to make some choices. Here are the choices that you get. As a game master, you can say you can succeed, but it'll cost you something. That could be time, health, items, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could succeed, but it changes the situation for the worse. Like you're gonna jump across the far side of this roof during a chase to keep ahead of the thieves that are behind you that are trying to stab you for taking their stuff. But like you jump, you make it, but your foot goes through the roof and it's stuck. So you get the tag stuck. Now you have to deal with that tag, which means essentially you can't move until you have dealt with that stuck tag, which means they might catch up to you. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, the cool things a lot of folks do this in other games. I'll just D&D, obviously very popular, right? So we can say, hey, give me a check, an acrobatics check, and then someone will roll, and let's say I got a 13. Go, well, your target was 15. That you missed, but not too bad. So I'll tell you what. Here's what happens. So this is not a very. It's not as you said. It's not
new about this.
It's not new, but the idea is that we're trying to build that in, and when we talk about GM tools, we're putting this front and center as a tool. We don't want people to say, you failed. I jumped, but I just fell to my death. No, you missed by 2. If you snake eyes it, a critical failure, well, things can get crazy then. You could fall down, break a leg, land buried, you crash through the floor and end up in the sewers somewhere. Oh my gosh, right? You could have harm. All these bad things can happen, conditions laid on you. But the idea is the miss doesn't have to be, but there's a built-in.
We're codifying it so that people know what they can choose from instead of just letting people imply that they can do these things and then have to have discussions at the table for what's going on. Like, you really do that? Do the rules say that you could do that? No, man. Like, here's all the options that you actually have as a game master.
Which is why, again, it goes back to the context. If we all understand the context of the event that's occurring, when the miss happens, the critical miss, the just barely a miss, the woof, missed by quite a bit, you got some context to play with, and it will make more sense, and everybody will be bought in.
It does a couple other things too, and there are like a few other choices that you can make. You can give the players a choice when they miss. You can just tell them. You can just tell them that they fail, right? Like, man, you messed up, right? Like, it just didn't happen. And like you said, the critical ones, it's failing and making the situation worse, right? Like, I did not do the thing, and it got a lot worse. That's generally reserved for the critical failure state, or when like you failed like 2 or 3 times in a row, and it just makes sense that it gets worse because context matters.
Well, the things that you said there I really like too is there is an option to say just fail. So, example, you're trying to pick the lock on the door, and I know that there is nobody nearby to hear you, blah blah blah, because I'm the game master. I know the scenario. I know this. I know the environment I just set up. There's nothing going on. If you don't get in, you just got to figure out another way around it. So I look at this lock's beyond you. You can't pick it.
Yes, I mean, if you wanted to go that way, I would hardly ever do that. If I had been in time, I'd be like, well, it just takes you like 30 minutes to get there.
But the option's there.
It is there.
It is there, and sometimes it's a good option to use sometimes because sometimes shit happens. Like I can't do it.
I think the example that I have written down was like, you try to convince a sanitary excavator to lower their price to guide you through the sewers, but you failed. So they're like, nah, man, you pay me what I asked for, or get somebody else to take you.
No, that's an even better example. Yeah. I like, look, I need to get from here to here. And Muddy Joe's like, no, dude, it's 10 silver.
Yeah.
It's 10 silver or I'm
5
going
silver.
I'm leaving.
10. Yep.
Yeah. You got to change your tactic. Yeah. Come back at something else. And remember, Muddy Joe's a gambling addict. So there's always an angle with that guy. Just keep working.
Yeah. And also, of course, like when you miss, when you're trying to attack somebody, like it's usually just a miss, but with this choice, say, man, you're in the middle of a game and somebody like has missed like 4 or 5 times. That's not fun, right? Like, so at some point you could say to them like, cool, you rolled a miss, but I'll give you a choice. You can actually hit this guy, stab them, but in return, they will also like headbutt you and give you the tag dazed. So now you have a choice. You could actually hit this guy if you wanted to, since you've been trying to this entire fight and not been successful, but it'll just cost you something.
I like that. Yeah. I want to hit this guy. I need to get in front of them because she's got to stop them so he can get the door open. Fights aren't working. You know what? I'll take a hit. I just got to hold him.
Yeah.
Right?
And
something Okay,
You
I
go
like
to try
that.
to grab the guy and you fail. And I'm like, well, you can grab him, but he's going to like stab you a couple times, right? Like
Yes.
things like that. What that does is it gives the game master more control over the pacing of a situation. You don't have to let the dice decide for you all the time. The dice just give you choices. That's the point of it.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about next?
So let's just talk about frameworks in general here. So the hit, the miss, we got that. The context is good. So a generalized kind of thought about frameworks. So when we first, what the hell do you mean by frameworks? Just to make sure we're all on the same page.
To me, there are three primary modes of play in this game: is you're pulling off a heist, you're delving into a dungeon, dangerous explorations, or you're investigating something. Those are the three framework play modes that I put together, and they're all basically the same thing, but just slightly different in their execution. And I have information about all that. So, like in investigation, it has a number of clues, early and late clues that you will go and find. It's got a timer because if you don't have a timer, there's no tension. So these all have timers on them. They have threats and escalations in them, and they all work together. So I just said a whole bunch of stuff. The framework works this way. You will get your intro to whatever the investigation is, be it like monster hunting or like looking into somebody's death or like looking for somebody that got something stolen from them or a missing person, whatever it is. There's always going to be a timer. That timer has some amount of segments to it. If the timer ever runs out, you have failed. The way that the play goes is that you will go around and ask everybody during a segment of the timer, what are you going to do during this segment? So that way they can split up if they want and go have different scenes to do other parts of the investigation separate from each other. Now they could all go together, but that's really inefficient because as soon as you have a scene, you're done with that part of your timer. Now the timer doesn't indicate time passing. It just indicates scenes of play. Every once in a while on those timers, there's like a little line under one of them. When you get to one of those lines, that means the game master gets a reaction or an escalation. So they can go to this list of reactions that you've written down that I've put in the scenario or that you have come up with yourself or whatever makes sense in the scenario and have it occur sometime during the next set of scenes. So all that time you were trying to acquire clues.
Mm-hmm.
When you acquire, the way that I have it set up, and you don't have to use the system if you don't want to, because some people won't like it. There are two types of clues. There are flow clues. Flow clues are the clues that actually get you to the end of the investigation. And then there are context clues. Context clues fill in the story of what's going on around the scenario. There is usually a number associated with the context clues that you have to get before you get the next flow clue. So like you have to find, it's usually X, which is the number of characters that are in the scenario, plus some number. Once you've gotten that, then you will find the next flow clue. Now what this does, and this is cribbed a bit from Brindlewood games, it gives you the option to put these clues where they need to be because player characters, when they have agency, will go and do things that you do not expect them to do. And instead of telling them that they don't find anything, you can actually put something that's relevant there for them to find. So that creates a back and forth between you and the players. Now, you want to go write a classic styled mystery with where the clues are in specific spots and whatnot, you should do that. But these tools are here for you for this kind of play if you want to use it.
So with the framework, there's also, I shouldn't be worried about if I don't find all 5 clues, I'll never get there. I could skip a clue. I could bounce. I could go, oh my God, we found 2 flow clues and all of this context information we found. Oh my God, it's the baker. And we run off to go deal with the baker. Whether we're right or wrong, right?
You shortcut the mystery, then you shortcut the mystery. That's fine. Like if players are clever, they're clever, right?
Yes.
Just usually the flow clues will direct you to the next bit. Like if you skip one, then you skip one. Good for you guys for figuring it out. That's clever, right? Players should be able to play the game too.
Absolutely. Okay. I like that. So we talk about a framework like that. So for investigations, heists, or dangerous expeditions and whatnot, this is a document we're talking about, a framework. So when somebody looks at this, they say, okay, I think I'm tracking you. How'd you write that down?
So I made play sheets for people that they can use. Like
nice.
There's blank play sheets that people can just fill out for themselves that have all the bits and pieces so that once they're done filling it out, then they'll have their scenario. But there is also like longer written out scenarios too that have more detail. And a lot of the back ends of these scenarios have like NPCs and locations and things like that in there too, so that you have stuff that you can bring into the game. But let me tell you, like every time I've run one of these things, because of the way that the characters are set up with their occupations and stuff, they'll go and leverage those to go find clues from people that they know or that they've already interacted with. So then that doesn't always work with what you have on your play sheet that you've put together.
But just because you put it on the play sheet doesn't mean it's not made of stone, nor is it chisel, right?
It's supposed to be for flexibility and to give you some amount of prep that you can lean on it when you need to. The real trick is the clues. Like as long as you have clues and the reactions, to me the reactions are important too, because that lets you intercede into what's going on. Now, of course, if the players roll terribly, like you can do that too. This thing is here to help you. I think it works best when you use the thing the way that it's written. But if you see an opportunity for a really good like reaction or like intercession into what's going on with like something bad that happens to them based on a choice that they made, you should do that because the fiction and the context matters most.
Yeah, we've got an opportunity here where it's like, look, if this doesn't happen or this bad thing occurs or whatever, like the killer kills again.
Yes.
The bodies start piling up.
Yeah, that's what those reactions are for in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is we've got these reactions built in. And the cool thing is that if you have just the act of writing the stuff down, putting it in a play sheet, give yourself a crib note, something you can reference. I have found I've been doing it more and more myself, even in the Avalon game I'm running right now with my with some of my friends and my kid, is I've got lists of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like, hey, when this occurs, boom, this is I pull that trigger, pull that one. Or you look at that list and say, initially it's supposed to be X, but Y is way cooler right now. They just talked to so-and-so. They talked to Samuel. That means this other thing has to happen. I can't do this one. This one has to happen. And it could escalate the entire event. I like that. That's pretty cool.
So that's how the investigation framework works. Heists, not too much different. There's a timer, same deal. The timer runs out. You can't pull the heist off anymore because either security's tightened, the thing that you're trying to steal is gone, whatever it is. The difference is that the heist is a box. So the box is the thing that the item that you're trying to steal is inside, and it has some amount of obstacles surrounding it. And those obstacles have a number on them, X plus whatever, to equal the number of player characters plus maybe an extra difficulty, or just a number if you want to make it just a number. And that could be like, there's Griffin patrols around here, or they have magical security that you don't know about, or figuring out the layout of this place, like getting the guard rotation. Those are the obstacles that you throw on this thing, and they can be either known to begin with or unknown because you start with your mark, right? Like somebody comes, either you find a job to go do, or somebody comes to you with a job to go do. That's what a heist is. And then, like the investigation, you have these scenes that people can go and take to try to generate tags and overcome the obstacles. And when you have enough tags, which you can use the tags during the heist, that are equal to the number that's next to the obstacle becomes a non-issue during the heist.
I like that. One of the things that's not throwing me, but I'm thinking about here is when we talk about we're hit miss, not pass fail, right? We're not, hit or fail. We talk about the heist failed or the investigation failed. I think in the realm of a framework, the phrasing of failure for the heist makes sense. Like you can't do it.
Correct. The timer runs out. You failed. It's a fail state.
You need to reset and try again or figure something else out.
Yeah, it's right? It's just over. Like you just fucked up.
Yeah. But like if it's, it's the blood rubies of Lady Constantine. Well, okay. She still has them.
Sure, they're just somewhere else that makes it harder to get at, right?
Exactly. So there's opportunity, obviously, to build those things together. In an investigation, for me, the other component of this is we talked about this earlier with we talked about magistrate families and stuff before. Is your reputation matters, right? If you willy-nilly go in and you investigate poorly, you don't do this, you jump to the wrong conclusions, your heist gets screwed up, and it happens in a bad way, this could be a reputation hit for you.
It can.
You may have a harder time. You could get kicked out of a thieves guild. You could have other problems. There's issues to be had here, right? People who you may have made enemies of suddenly have a little bit of leverage against you. It doesn't mean, oh, I lost Avalon, right? I lost the game, right?
No, man,
it's a story beat. It's a thing that happened. Move
correct.
on. What comes next?
It is a fail state that doesn't actually include your characters dying, right? Like you can keep playing.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I didn't do this one thing right. I had to run away from the dragon. Yeah, I couldn't fight it to death, right?
So with these heists, like you do the thing until you decide to go do the heist. You can go do the heist whenever you want. As long as the timer hasn't run out, you can go pull the heist off. Now you'd think that why don't I just wait until the timer's like at the last beat to go? It's because sometimes the reaction is the timer gets shorter.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally and sometimes it's better to go in earlier. Sometimes things just get worse because the reactions that come along with that are things like extra security or like like a rival group of criminals is also trying to steal the thing because they heard about this thing that's there. Whatever it is. God.
Now it's us and them against the thing. Oh Jesus.
Stuff like that.
So let's talk dangerous explorations. Where
this is just dungeon crawling, right? So I basically cribbed off of like very old school dungeon crawl type stuff. You're in a dangerous place, which means we're just going to run this thing in instead of a timer, it's got segments. And those segments are all 10 minutes long. People that have played old school role playing games should be pretty familiar with that. And same deal, be like, oh, what are you doing in this 10-minute segment, right? Are you moving on to the next room? Are you searching this room? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? When you get that, you mark it off. And then, of course, the reactions there are like random encounters or potential things that are in this dangerous place that'll come and try to murder you, or bad things that happen.
No, makes sense.
So that is it's actually the simplest of them all for like people that are accustomed to dungeon delving kind of role playing games, because it's just that idea, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a the other thing I like about this is that dangerous explorations, we use dungeon delving because it's a very common thing that people are familiar with, but I could put you in an abandoned brewery that's 4 stories high with a basement and a sub basement. It's effectively a dungeon. It's
is
a dangerous exploration. You're going into a thing. There is the Lady Madonna, the weird ghost boat is landed. People are terrified of it.
Also a dungeon. It's a dangerous exploration.
You got to go explore it. It's a thing you got to get into.
That's why I changed the term, right? Like, it's everybody, like, the dungeon is everything. Why don't we just call it what it is? It's just you're exploring a dangerous location.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I think is interesting here is I'm pretty sure I could shuffle these together and make one big ass series of things.
You can. I have.
My investigation to knock off this investigation, you've got 2 heists and 3 dangerous explorations to go through.
Yep, because otherwise you can't get the clue that you need to solve the thing. All that means is that you have to extend your timer. You just think of the timers as fractal, and then that timer, instead of it being for the investigation, instead of it being like segments for like scenes, it becomes days or scenario. It becomes rests. Every time you guys take an actual rest, then the mark of the segment timer from the segment goes off of it. That's how you get your like Ocean's 12 type stories.
Yes. One of the things I remember you and I talked about when we were first thinking through all the different pieces apart, like what's important. You were asking like, hey, what's important? And I love the idea of clocks that a lot of different modern systems use. I know Blades of Dark has clocks and so
I love clocks.
And there is something, when I first heard about them, I thought, this is some wuss ass shit, dude. I don't need that. I don't need this tool, blah, blah, blah. And then it dawned on me like, hey, Brett, stop being an old grumpy grognard. It's like, look, it's a tool. You don't have to use every tool. It is a thing. And when you have it, the cool part about it is when something's written down like that on your crib sheet, your note sheet, with the clock, the effects of what happens when the timer goes ding, you have stuff you can play with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go, oh, I forgot to have the owl bear. I forgot to have the red hand. Son of a gun. I was going to have the red hand come in and raid their base while they were out after X occurred. Well, I have that written down. I have that stuff down. And as it's on my play sheet, it gives me a reference point. Like I, as game master, am I hitting the stuff I want to hit? Are the cool things happening? Or do I need to modify it so that I go, wow, this would be a lot worse than I thought it was, because they now took their hideout, they've turned it into an orphanage. And if I have the red hand come in there, they're going to kill 15 orphans. I don't really want to kill 15 orphans over this stupid blood rubies. So how about we change it to something else?
Mm-hmm.
But having that stuff, again, the power of writing it down and having that tool available to you is that it's there when you need it.
Yeah. What the tools do is they basically just help you with pacing. They teach you about pacing, and they can give you a framework to help pace out your stuff, so it feels like the kind of fiction that you are playing through. Because we're not writing stories, we're improvising stories, essentially. These frameworks help you tell a heist story. They help you tell a dungeon crawl. They help you tell an investigation, because that's how they all work on TV and in books and in movies.
No, I like it. Yeah. Having that out there, because if all we did was say, hey, listen to this podcast and we're going to give you some hints and clues, that's wonderful. But having something written down and a methodology to approach it, that's aces, because that's something you can actually try.
Yeah, and a modular methodology. You can mess with it. You can change it. You can shift it. It's not a hard and fast rule.
It's like Lego, man. I can take the heist one and I can modify the hell out of it. And next thing you know, it's all 3 combined into one big thing. And you're like, yeah, that's what a campaign is, man. Go for it. No, I like that. I like that stuff, Chris. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you for listening to Under the Lamplight, the Streets of Avalon role-playing game podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe on YouTube. You can pick up the playtest version of the game, which I've done my best to give a slightly nicer layout with some art at polygamero.us. The link is below. And we'll see you under the lamplight next week.